All right, so today we'll be discussing CSS. Yesterday we discussed about HTML, which is the web markup language that allows us to do all manner of things on the web browser. So while the HTML allows us to declare the structure of the web, what should be the header, what should contain the text, the paragraph, images, video, the web just looks very, very ugly as such. So it is CSS that makes it look some sort of beautiful, or that makes it look appealing to the eyes. So let's take, for example, if I open the project that we did yesterday on our browser, we can all see how ugly it looks. Trying to zoom it. Yes, so you can see the way it looks. I mean, it's really not appealing. But by the end of today's class, you will see what makes CSS unique when it comes to working with the web. Okay, so, but before we move into that, I would want us to understand the structure of the CSS. CSS is what we know as cascading style sheet. And the reason why it's called cascading style sheet, you will get to know it at the course of this lesson. Now, CSS saves us from much stress. CSS is, like I said, it helps us to beautify our design. I mean, when you have designs without color, without border, without background, it always looks very redundant and very difficult for users to consume. But with the essence, with the presence of CSS, CSS helps you to make it look beautiful and, either hard background shadows and the likes. So you can think about it this way. HTML, on the other hand, allow you to structure how your web should be in terms of the hierarchy of your content, the hierarchy of your text, the hierarchy of your images, while on the other hand, CSS helps you to beautify those things. Do you want some images to display side by side? You want an image to display half of the screens and the likes, So that's where CSS comes to play a very huge role. Now, CSS, what makes it unique again is you can declare one CSS and apply it to several pages of your site. Now, when you're building a website, you're going to be having home page, about us page, contact page. With CSS, you can declare just one page of CSS and apply it to every of the pages, right? So that makes it very handy. Instead of writing multiple styles for different pages, you just write one style and apply it to all of your pages. That's how unique a CSS is. Let's take an example of a CSS. Now, for you to declare a CSS, you need to be able to target the HTML elements. Yesterday we worked with form, we have H1 tag, we have several tags. So you need to be able to select the actual tag that you want to style on your page. So take, for instance, this is the selector. We are selecting the body element, right? So when we select the body element, we're now saying that let all this declaration happen on the body element. So think about CSS as, first, you target the elements you want to style. It might be the header, it might be a P tag, whatever tag you want to target. So you have to select it. And after you select it, you make your declaration. Now in the declaration, there are two values. You declare the property, that is what do you want. And once you declare the property, then you add the value. Take, for instance, I want a background attached to the body. Now, that is the property, what you want. Then the value is what should be given. So if you look at it, I want a background color of light blue. That's basically what CSS is. Now, once you make a selector, when you select any of the elements, you can attach several styles to it. And we're going to be seeing that in a very short while. But let's still move forward. Now, if you look at this again, you'll see several selections. We selected the body. We apply background color light blue. We selected the H1. We apply white color white, then text align center. We selected the P tag, then add font family, Verdana, then font size 20 pixels. If you look at it very well, you will see that all the things we have are selectors. Once you make your selector, I want to select the P tag, then I will apply this style to the P tag. That's how simple it is. So let's look at it again. You will see all of this in a dark red are the HTML elements. Then if you look further, these are the CSS declarations. So all of these are the declarations we made through the CSS. Now, talking about the placement of CSS, there are several ways to place CSS. You can place CSS inline within the div, which we saw here. Okay, I think, all right, I'll be showing an example. Okay, yes, this is it. Yes, sorry for that. So we have inline, we have internal, we have external. These are places that you can house your CSS. Now, the internal placement means that you add it on the head tag. I'm going to be showing you that as well. Then we have the external. External means that you create a different file, just like you create a file for your HTML. Let's take an example of what an inline style looks like. This is what an inline style looks like. You have your HTML tag. Remember that your content will be in between here. Then in between the first opening tag, where you have your attribute is where you declare your CSS. So this is what we call the inline style, inline statement. So you're placing the CSS in between the tag. The disadvantage with this is that, how about you want to style so many H1 with the same light blue? Does that mean that you now copy all of this and start placing on all the H1 or all the P tag you have? So this makes it limiting because you don't want to start repeating yourself again and again. What if you want to change the light blue to red? It means that you have to now start looking for all the tag that has this declaration, which is very redundant. Another style that we have is internal. The internal, you will see the head tag. Yesterday, we talked about the head tag. You see the head tag, then you have the style in between the head tag. Now, between the style, you can target any of the elements, right? You can target the body, you can target H1, you can target any amount of elements available there. The disadvantage of this is that you cannot apply this inline internal style with another page. The reason is because it is embedded in a particular page that cannot be extended. Let's take on the last one, which is the external style. The external style simply means that you're creating a file externally. You're creating a file .css. So the name of the file could be my style.css, it could be style.css. Just make sure that it ends with the extension .css. So this is the file, this is the link, this is how you now link it to your HTML document. These are all the things we'll be taking a look at during the course lesson. So this is the overview of what CSS looks like. So at this moment, we'll just dive into making an example, practical example of using the HTML and CSS together. All right, so do we have questions? At this point, I would like to take just a few questions before we move forward. If there's no question, then I will continue. Okay, so there's no question coming forward, so we'll just move forward. All right, so I requested that we download a file yesterday, and I think today. So the file, once you download the file, you see a zip file. So I've unzipped mine already. So this is the file we're going to be opening with. If you're not seeing my screen at any point, please let me know. This is the file we're going to be opening with our VS Code. So I asked that we download the VS Code yesterday. So to download the VS Code, all you just need to do is, like I said, just Google download VS Code. Yeah, so once you just, I think the first link that will show, so you can download for your respective operating system. Okay, right. So what we want to do right now is to open our project with VS Code. There are several ways to do it. You can open the VS Code. You can open new window. Another way to do it is you drag the folder. You can drag the folder to the app so that it should just open the folder directly. And if you don't want to do that as well, you can open the VS Code and just click on File, then click on Open. So when you click on Open, then you navigate to where you have your folder, then you open. That's another way. I think I have somebody's mic not mute. I'll have to do that. Okay. All right, done. Okay, so I mean, for those of you who attended yesterday's class, this is what we did yesterday. We created a form, and today our goal is to style it. Now, once you download your VS Code, I will encourage you to download an extension called Live Server. It's called Live Server. Exactly. So I already have it installed. That's why you're not seeing this install tag. I already have it installed. So the Live Server actually allow you to run your program while you're saving. It appears immediately, so you don't have to refresh. You see what I mean? Just in a few seconds. All right. So this is our first HTML, which we save as index.html. So the moment you install the extension, I think sometimes you might have to restart, close, and reopen the VS Code. And sometimes I think it works directly. You see the go live here, just at the bottom right. When you click it, automatically it will create a server. It will open up a server channel where you'll be able to load your content. Now, this is what I want to do. I'm on a Mac and I can split my screen into two. So I'll just, so that I can be seeing what I am doing all together. Okay, so let's take a look at what the live server is capable of doing. If I say, for instance, I just come to the bottom here and just do maybe a p tag. So yesterday I was talking about IntelliSense and auto-completion. This is where you have it. Yesterday we did all our coding without all the predictions, but today because we are on an IDE, we'll be able to experience that. So once you press enter, it will do both the open and the closing tag without you even bothering yourself. So if I just say live server and I save, so without me refreshing the browser, you'll see that it's showing. And that's one handy feature of the live server. Okay, so right now, what we will first do is let's try out the inline style. So let's apply an inline style to the H1 here. So we'll just say style. You can see the auto completion already. I press enter. You will see it will help me complete it. So if I want to say the color, we want the color to be red. Color red. Automatically, you see the color is appearing red. So that's the function of the live server. Always remember that when you're making your CSS declaration, you always end it with semicolon. You end your semicolon. Then let's say we want to increase the font size. Font size. Let's say we give it 30 pixels. Nothing happened. Let's increase it to 100. As you can see, it gets bigger. So that's what the inline style, how the inline style works. But let's assume I want to use this same style on another tag. It means that I will copy it and just paste it here and save, right? So you see immediately the username increase. The disadvantage with this, like I said, is I will have to be copying and but that's not what we do. How about we try an internal style? The way the internal style works is you make your declaration on the head tag. You can see, I think let's just get rid of this comment. Okay, so this is your head tag. Then you have the style. So you can make all your style declaration here. So I can target just, I can remove all of these. Let's just remove everything. H1. So everything. So let's say we want to target H1, right? Just do your H1 tag. Then you have your curly braces, the open and close. Then we can say color, make it red. You see, automatically you see it happening, right? So that's the unique thing about it. So if I want to target the label, right, instead of me copying and pasting on the label, all I just need to do is add a comma to the element to target and also add label. If we save, you see that all the label automatically turn to red. That makes a lot of sense because we can make just some declarations. We can even add margin. You can say margin top. We can make it 20 pixels. The moment we save, let's see if anything happens. Let's increase it to 40. Okay, nothing is happening right now. Margin top, margin bottom. Let's try to do, okay, let's try to pad it, padding. Let's say padding top. And let's give it 30 pixels. You can see that something happened to all of them. So what we want to do really is we don't even want to use the internal style because the internal style, like I say, will only work for the HTML document. You can use it on other pages. And to keep our code cleaner, you want to just cater for HTML here and create another file for CSS. So let's see how that works. So new file, I'll just title it style.css. Okay, so we have our style.css. So let's target the H1 and let's give it maybe color red. If we save, actually, nothing happens. Nothing happens because the HTML does not understand that the CSS exists, right? But for us to make this HTML understand that, we need to link it. Now in linking it, we just need to say link. We can see the auto prediction is helping us in this regard. So what we've done is the link is a self-closing tag. Then we have the relations, which is the rel, which is style sheet. Just telling that is actually a style sheet. Then we have the link. Where do we have the style? So we have the style in the same document. So we can just have this name, which is style.css. So we've included the name of our style sheet. To save it, you see that it works on the head. Now, like I said, if we declare several HTML documents here, pages, and we apply and we link this style sheet, on every page that we have H1, we have color red. So that makes it very, very handy. So now that you have basic understanding about how the HTML works and how you can place it, let's restructure our form so that we can be able to target them individually. So I'm still looking forward to comments. If you have any comments, just drop it, because I don't want to leave anyone behind, although this video will be available for everyone to view later. Now, in structuring our HTML, I want to have, so we'll be having class ID. Like I said, class allows you to target and okay, so class allow you to target and style all of these elements independently. So, but to start with, right, we need to kind of like wrap our content in a way that is fancy and easy to read. So I'll be wrapping some of these contents with div and adding IDs, or we can even do away with ID, maybe just use CSS, CSS class. Okay. All right, so I want to wrap this form in a div. So we can say div, so closing, opening and closing, I'll just copy it to the end of the form. So I'm just wrapping the form, the entire form in the div. And the reason is because I want to have a container for the entire form. So let's give the div a class or container. Then, yes, we have our H1. So this, you'll see that on every of the form inputs, we have a container for them, which are the div. I want to be able to identify all these containers, all these wrappers, which is the div. So one thing I need to do is to declare the class and just give it form control. Form control. So since I want to apply the same thing to all of them, I will just copy it and paste it on all the div. Okay, I think this is the last one. All right. Okay, so if we check, nothing is still happening yet, but what we are doing is we are declaring a structure for our HTML. Okay, so moving forward, let's just go to style. First thing we want to do is to declare some default style to the body. Now, in declaring some style to the body, you will see how that works. So we'll target the body like we did, body. Then we want the background. We want a very light background. So we'll say background color. We'll give it, so we'll be using hexadecimal, which is also still a representation of RGB. So we can give it F9, then FA, I think FB. So if you save it, it's a very light gray. If you save it, you will see that the form artboard is already giving us gray. All right, so moving forward again, we would still declare, okay, so we want to display it, we want it to show in the middle, so we'll display flex, display flex, then we will say align content, we'll say center, then we'll say justify again. We'll see the effect of all of these things. Justify, content, center, okay. So it's displaying at the center. Then if we come again to say, so height, so we want to push it down a bit. So we just say mean height. No, not mean width, mean height. Then we say 100 viewport. No, should be that. Are we missing anything? Mean height. Okay, so we will say the margin, once margin 0. Margin 0. Okay. Now, so really nothing is actually happening for now. Okay, so I think there's something I just need to call our attention to. It's likely that our call is up to 40 minutes already, and we are using the free version. So I might have to set another link. Okay, so I'll have to quickly set another link and share, but before then, let's see how far we can go. Okay, so the next we want to target is our actual form. So I think one thing we still need to do is to give our form class. We want to be able to target this form as well. So we'll give it class of form. All right, so we'll see the difference of targeting form class and targeting the elements as well. So now what we will do is to target the container, right? So we want the container to have like a background, a white background. Then we want it to have a shadow, after shadow, then we want the width to be like 400 pixels, this is the container we are talking about. Yes, so we'll target the container class. So to target the class, you have a dot, then you have container. Is that correct? Container. Let me see how I spelled it. Yeah. Okay, I think it's correct. All right, so the first thing we want to do is our background. We want to give a background color of white, which can be FFF, right? So that's white. Then we want to give it a border radius of 10. So we want the edges to be curved. You'll see what that means soon. Then we want the box shadow. We want to apply shadow. Okay, let me just save this so that you see what it is right now. So you could see already that we have something like a white shade. But let's still move forward and say we want shadow, box shadow. So box shadow works this way. We apply 0 pixel, then 2 pixel, 10. All right, so the darkness want it to blur, like so you can increase and play with all of these figures to see the reaction. So we're going to be using the RGBA. RGB. Now, so you have the color and the alpha. So we're going to be using 0, 0, 0, 0. Then the last one, I think we'll just give you, once it's very light. This is like the opacity. We want 0 0.3. Okay, I'm not supposed to have this minus here. So already automatically you'll see that we have our box shadow neatly written. All right, it's looking more like it. So let me see how many minutes we have more. So let me just quickly set another link so that I can share. Then we join immediately. I was thinking we'll be able to finish this in 40 minutes, but it's looking more than that. Okay, so 12, 40. Just a minute. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we have another one. So I'm just going to be pasting the link in this message so that everybody can just join immediately after. So I've dropped it on the message, so please just join immediately once this is disconnected. So apologies for this. We'll soon go on the pro version, but in the meantime, just bear with us. All right, so let's go back to our form. Now we have the background attached to the container. So the next thing we want to do is to style our header, which is H1. So let's target the H1. The H1 is, okay. So we can give the H1, we can say test align, want the test to align in between. Say test align, can say center, let's save and see. You see that immediately the test just maintain in between the lines. Then we can go ahead to say that we want margin at the top, margin at the bottom. So let's just say margin. So the way margin works is you have top, side, right side, bottom, and left. So let's see how that works. So we have 0, 0, and we can say 0, maybe we can say 30 pixels. Let's just see what happens. You see that something just basically happened here. But what we want to, where we want the margin is actually up and down. So we can say, since this is the up, we can call it 20 pixels. 20 pixels, then give, okay, sorry, this should be 20 pixels. This is the up, then 0 pixel. We'll delete this last one, pixel. So you have top, right, bottom, and the left. Okay, so you see that we have space both up and down, which looks really cool. Okay, so the next thing is we need to style, we need to pad our form. We don't want all these things to be too close. We don't want it to be too close to the edge, so we need to pad it. And in padding it, we need to target our form here. Because what gives us the background shadow is the container. So we need to pad this form so that we have space in between. All right, so let's target our form class. To target the form class, we just need to do dot form. Then we open. All right, so when we control, which is This is our form control. Here's our form control. So we want to give space in between and just make it look more nicer. So we'll add margin. We want to add margin. We want to add padding. We also want to add, make it position relative. And let's just dive into that. So form control. Okay, form control. All right. So the first thing we want to do is to add our margin top as 10 pixels. Margin top 10 pixel. Let's save and see what happens. You can see immediately the space above. Then we want to add again padding bottom. Padding bottom. Let's give it 20 pixel. So you see that we have enough space. And the reason for the enough space, you will see it shortly. Because we're going to make this form actually full the length, then have this the labels appear at the top. Okay, so once we have that, let's make the position relative. Then position relative just simply means that if there's going to be any positioning inside of this container that will be absolute, it will respect this very container. That might look very technical, but sound technical, but you get to understand. So the next thing is we want to target all the labels, right? All these labels. So you can combine class. Take for instance, for specificity, we'll target this form control, then link it together with this label. Let's see how that works. So we can say form control, then label. So every label inside form control, apply this very style that we are about to declare. One, we want to change the color. We want the color to be something like a light gray. So we're going to be using hexadecimal 777. You could see the color preview already. Then the next thing we want to do is make a display block. So we don't want it to display in the same line, on the same line with the box. So we can say that display, not inline, but block. So let's save. You'll see that it's maintaining its own line now, which look really cool. The next thing we want to do is to increase the margin bottom so that it doesn't get too close to this input. So let's just say margin bottom. You can give it, let's say we give it 5 pixels. Automatically, you see that now we have something looking more like what we want to build. All right. So the next thing we want to target is the input, right? So we want to target the entire input. The same way we apply the style with the label, you can see that we can use this to target all the inputs. Now, I will just copy this and paste. I'll just change the input. Yes. Now, let's change out the declaration. So we want all our input to have like a border and a border color. So let's try it out. So border, we want 2 pixels solid, like the thickness of the line, then 1 solid. You can have dotted. Let's take, for instance, if we say we want dotted Then we declare the color that we want it to be. So we'll just do F0, F0, F0. That's like still a dark gray. If we save it, you'll see that all the form has dotted, right? But what we want is not dotted, it's solid. If you change that, you see that all the form input has solid, which looks really cool. The next thing we want to do is to make all the border the very curve, like border radius. Then we're going to give it 4 pixels. Then display, we want display block. Like we want it to take the entire length. Let's check it out. Then we want it to take the entire width from this point to this point. So for us to do that, we just say width, then 100%. You see that automatically it's taking the entire width that we've declared, which looks really cool. The next thing is, if you look at it, it's too tight. Like let's widen the space so that it looks more clearer to the viewer. So we can say padding. No, we can just say padding entirely. Padding, give it 10 pixel all around. So we want we want to have 10 pixel all around. Seems something is wrong somewhere. Okay, let's really check what's wrong. Let's check our we have, because I just wanted to, I don't want us to have it's cutting off. So I think I have misdeclared something and we need to figure out what exactly is that. So we have our align width, mean height. Okay, so in the container, I'm looking for where we declare the width. Display width. I'll figure it out right in a moment. Okay, so in the container, right, we are supposed to have a width. I see where the problem is. So this thing is cutting off basically because we didn't declare our container width. So we just do width and give it 400. No, not 500, 400 pixel. And once we have that, automatically you see that our form is having a breathing space. Okay, so let's still check. So this thing is supposed to be, so something is still wrong here. This form is not supposed to be eating more than that, more than this space. So when you're coding, sometimes you always encounter things like this when you declare a style and it doesn't work, it doesn't behave the way you expect it. So sometimes you have to really adjust it to make sure it's in line with what you intend. So the next thing is, okay, so what I will do, let's even, let us open another browser. Okay, so the same thing is happening right here. And we need to figure out what the issue is. Another handy tool for us is to use the developer tool, which if you right click, you'll be able to see inspect. Okay, so let's say you mustn't know everything at the same time, but just follow along. All of these things are things you will encounter, then you should be able to debug it. So we can expect with this select tool. So I just want to understand what's wrong. Why is it taking more than what is expected? So if we give our form, so let's assume that we give this form width of 100%, 100%, what happens? Then let's say we give the input. Okay, something is really wrong. We're going to figure that out in a moment. Okay. All right. So what I think we will do right now, I just can't lay my hands on where the issue is coming from. But one handy thing we can do is, instead of making the form here 100%, which is causing the issue, let's see if I make it 90, what happens? Okay, it looks pretty much like it, but that's not what we intend, really. Let's go to our Google Chrome and refresh. Okay, it looks pretty much like what we want, right? But how about the height? The height should be our mean height. So let's even say, no, okay, shouldn't be 100, should be 50. Okay. So you can see basically we have a form that is taking 50% of the mean height. So let's see our sorry, I'm just trying to confirm something. Justify content, to make our justify content center, then we have justify. Okay, this should be, instead of align item, so what we have is align content. It should be align item. Align item. Is that the correct spelling? Okay, there should be S. Right. Okay, so let's check it out here. All right, so we need to give it a margin at the top. We can do that through the justify content. We have justify content, we have, okay, let's just declare our margin. Let's say we have margin top as 50 pixel, then we have 0, 0, 0, 0. No, it's supposed to be 3. Okay, so we are able to get like space in between. Now, if you look at it, the form is looking more like what we imagine, right? So the next thing we want to do is to, if you look at it, one thing I don't want us to be seeing is this blue line. So this is like the default behavior of every form on every browser, but we can remove it. And one way to do that is, you'll see that it's when we click, when it's on focus, that we get the color. So how about we deal with that? So we can deal with that by just declaring the form control. This is exactly what we are targeting again. Form control, but we want to use a pseudo class of when it's on focus. So when it's on focus, we want to remove the outline. We want to make it outline 0. So let's check it out. So you can see that nothing is showing when we click. But at the same time, we want to now declare our own border to give us something like a lighter, because we want the users to know when they are on a particular cell. So in doing that, we just need to say add the border when it's on focus. We add the border color of hexadecimal 77. This is like a dark gray. So if you see on every focus you have your pretty dark gray. We're almost done with the form. The next to actually address is the form button. And for us to target our button, we can target the form, which is the class here. The button is inside the form. So let's see how it goes. We'll target the form, then button. All right. So we want when people focus on the button, we want it to be a pointer. When the cursor is there, we want cursor to be pointer. We want the background color to be, so the background color will be 0 hexadecimal 0083 838, I think 8F. So that's Instinct Hub blue, something like a green, not blue, but green, like a special shade of green. So you see that we have that already. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, of course, the button is not looking as we expect. So we want to add a border. We want to remove all of this and add our own border. Then we just say border. Then we had 2 pixel tick, not 2 pixel. Then say solid. So we want to add the same color to it. You see that all of these things are just repetitive tasks, nothing serious. Okay. All right, so the next thing we want to do again is we want to add our border radius, border radius to 4 pixel. Nope. Border radius is what I want, not just border radius 4 pixel. Then we want to change the color. We can't leave the color there as black. Make it white. So white is FFF. Then the next thing is want it to display as block. Display block. Then we want the font size increase. Font size increase to like 16. No, not font family, font size. Font size to 16 pixel. Let's save and see where we are already. As you can see, it's looking more like it. Next thing is we want to pad it. Padding, not just padding bottom. We want 10 pixel. Then we want margin at the top, a space margin top to be like 20 pixel. Then we want it to take the entire width. So let's see how that works. Width 100%. Okay. So pretty much we have all the things that we need for our form. So if you look at it very well, it's actually a complete form that we want, as you can see here. So if you click We can enter the name. I can just enter my name. Then my email, enter a password, of course, auto complete because it's a retry password, which makes it look really cool. Now, what would have been the next thing for us to do is to validate it so that when people submit wrong information, people will be able to dictate where exactly they are wrong, and the system will be able to tell them, give them feedback. And that's where JavaScript comes to play a very huge role. So with JavaScript, you can add interactivity to the web page. You can add several functions that will make the web more interactive. And that's like in another session. So we've delivered the scope of this course. I would like to take questions if you have any. So at this point, I am done. So let me know what you think. If there are things I wasn't clear that you want us to talk about right now, we can do that. And we have a course on JavaScript and yes, on JavaScript. So you can visit our website. We have a workshop that'll be coming up on the, I think first of next month. So if you're interested, you can enroll. In that course, we'll be walking through several interactivities just beyond this HTML and CSS and everything. But you can imagine the sites, I mean the structure of the web that we have a few minutes ago that wasn't looking presenting. Look at what we've transformed it into. It looks really cool. And that's one thing about the web development. The beginning might look so very awful, but the end result always looks better. All right. So, okay. Thank you so much, Solomon. I'll make the video. I'll also upload the video on so that I think it's worth looking at the video again, because when you look at it the second time, you'll see that you're already a programmer actually. When you look at it from the second perspective, and the moment you scale from this HTML and CSS and you move into JavaScript, you're already a front-end web developer. And of course, your skills will keep, gaining more authenticity when you build more projects. So please, if you're here to follow us on our social media handle, please try to do that. Tell your friend about our platform. Yes, we're going to be having premium courses. There's no doubt about that. But subsequently, we'll be having free courses where you can learn for free because we understand what it means for people who want to learn and don't have the resources. So we'll be doing both. Matthew, I'm seeing your comment. Thanks a lot. All right. If without further questions, if there's no other question, you guys actually have you know a way to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on my social media and if you have my number as well, chat me up and I'll be willing to assist you in getting your result from this development journey. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay, so Max is actually asking a question. He's saying, my question is, how does the password 2 and password 1 check themselves to ensure they are both the same inputs? Okay, so there are some things that some of the web API have made easy for us, right? There are just some things that automatically you don't need to even worry yourself about it. It is true, it is possible through JavaScript, right, for you to compare two passwords. But from HTML5, those things are made easy already. So if you declare your first password 1, if you look at what we did in the HTML, we have inputs. So in a form, the API already understand that when you have two passwords, it means one for verifying, one for the actual password. And when you now give it an ID of password 1 and password 2, automatically validates that check. So if you check what we have here, we have, this is the first form, the password, you have password 1, and this is the second one, which is password 2. So automatically, the web understand that those things are to check if they are the same. So in as much as they are declared under one form declaration inside the form container, it will run, a check in between those two things and make sure that they are the same. Okay. So does that answer your question? Let me know. Sure, I think it did. Please, on your social media handle, if you've learned anything, one thing about learning new skills like this is telling the world that you've learned new skills, right? Because if you learn skills and people don't get to call you to come work for them, then it doesn't add up. So while you're learning bit by bit like this, it would be ideal for you to share it to the world how you are improving so that they get used to your new skills and idea. And one way to do that is to share them on your social media handles. So by sharing them on your social media handles, just tell them this is the skill I just learned today. I learned how to use blah blah. This is how I will apply it. People will get to resonate when you do that. And please, when you're doing that, you can always tag us at Instinct Hub. We will also help you to share. We like and share so that you can create conversation around your new skill on any platform. As you're learning, share whatever it is, even if it is creating a button that you just learn, share it, right? The world is waiting for you to say something about what you have, and that's what we see as giving you a voice, right? So when you're doing that at any point, tag us, we'll help you to share. And happy coding, guys.